Love, lattes, and the wrong guy, a caffeine-fueled dating disaster. Sophie was a hopeless romantic with a latte addiction. Every Saturday morning, like clockwork, she went to her favorite cafe in Vienna, Café Glucklich. It was cozy, smelled like cinnamon, and always played French jazz. More importantly, it was where she first saw him. He wasn't a model or anything, he just looked like he knew which wine went with what cheese. That's all Sophie needed. She started calling him Red Scarf Guy because he always wore this ridiculous, but strangely charming red scarf even when it wasn't cold. For 3 weeks, she sat 3 tables behind him, pretending to read Kafka, but mostly staring into his mocha-colored eyes. Then came the day. Sophie was dressed like she hadn't tried, but absolutely had. Ordered her usual vanilla latte, and by fate or caffeine gods, there was only one free seat in the whole cafe. Next to Red Scarf Guy. She took it. She smiled. He smiled. He said, "Nice weather today." She replied, "I like your scarf." He chuckled. She blushed. They talked for 20 minutes. He was charming, funny, and apparently loved dogs and baking. She was one sip away from falling in love. Then he said, "So, is this your first time using the dating app?" Her smile froze. Dating app. He showed her his phone, the table number, her name. He thought she was Anna, his actual date from an app. She was not Anna. She was Sophie, the cafe stalker. Before she could explain, a gorgeous brunette walked in, looked around, saw Red Scarf Guy, and shouted, "Lucas!" Sophie stood up so fast she spilled her latte. "I have to go," she blurted and ran out, leaving behind a confused Lucas and a lukewarm latte. Back home, she told her roommate everything. They laughed until they cried. A week later, she returned to Café Glucklich. This time, she brought a book she actually read. And who should be there? Red Scarf Guy. He saw her, walked over, smiled. "I'm sorry about last week," he said. "I realized you weren't Anna." After Anna showed up, Sophie laughed. "I wasn't stalking you. I was just practicing my observational skills." He grinned. "Wanna observe each other over coffee?" They sat down. She ordered a latte. He ordered a hot chocolate. They've been practicing observational skills every Saturday since. Moral of the story? Sometimes the wrong table leads you to the right person. Just maybe, don't fake read Kafka next time. The fake boyfriend plan. And why Grandma almost ruined it. Clara had a problem. A sweet, lipstick-wearing, nosy problem. Grandma Marta. Every family dinner, Marta would lean across the table, squint over her glasses, and ask, "When will you bring home a nice boy, I'm not getting younger, Clara." It didn't help that her cousin Lisa just got engaged to a dentist. A dentist, with 2 golden retrievers. So when Clara was invited to the big family Easter brunch, she panicked. Then inspiration struck. Or rather, desperation. She begged her roommate Max to pretend to be her boyfriend. Max was a good sport, a bit chaotic, always wearing mismatched socks, but charming, too charming. She gave him a full backstory. They met at a bookshop. He rescued her from falling off a ladder. He makes sourdough bread on Sundays. Max nodded like an actor preparing for Hamlet. At brunch, he was perfect. Grandma loved him. He kissed her cheek, complimented her brooch, and even asked for her sourdough tips. Clara could practically see wedding bells in Grandma's eyes. But then, disaster. Midway through dessert, Marta leaned close and whispered, "You should marry this one." Clara blushed. Max smiled. And just as things were going suspiciously well, Grandma stood up, clinked her glass, and yelled, "Everyone, a toast to young love." Clara choked on her cake. "We're so happy Clara brought her fiancé today." Clara nearly dropped her fork. "Fiancé?" Max gave her a look like, "Should I roll with this?" Clara gave him a look like, "Say no or I'll murder you with this spoon." But it was too late. Grandma already brought out a cake that said, "Congratulations!" Max whispered, "You owe me so much sourdough." Back home, Clara collapsed on the couch. "I'm never faking a boyfriend again." Max grinned. "Good, because I think I want to audition for the real role." She stared. "Wait, are you asking me out?" "Only if there's cake involved." They've been official ever since. Grandma is thrilled. Lisa's dentist fiancé is now old news. Moral of the story, fake it till you make it. or till grandma forces you into a real relationship, the ex text incident, or why you should double check before posting. Emma had been dating Daniel for 6 months. Things were going great. He brought her flowers, laughed at her terrible puns, and never once said, "Let's split the bill." A keeper. Then one afternoon, Emma was deep cleaning her phone, deleting old photos, clearing storage, trying to be the digital minimalist she always pretended to be. She scrolled through her old albums and for a nostalgic moment opened a folder named 2019, Good and Bad Choices. Inside, photos of Liam, her ex-boyfriend, the man who once forgot her birthday but remembered to record a football match, the man who thought giving her a cactus was romantic. Because it survives without love. Emma laughed, shook her head, and took a screenshot of an especially ridiculous selfie of Liam wearing a banana costume at a Halloween party. She captioned it, "My ex, proof that I once dated potassium." Then, she meant to send it to her best friend, Tasha. She didn't. She accidentally posted it to her Facebook story, publicly, for everyone to see, including Aunt Nora, her boss, a guy from high school she barely remembers, and, of course, Liam, who immediately texted, "Wow, so I'm a fruit now?" Emma screamed. She deleted the story in 30 seconds, but the damage was done. Notifications were pouring in like rain in London. Then came the worst part. Daniel saw it. He texted, "So, you're posting about your ex?" She panicked, called him, explained the whole mess between laughs and facepalms. Daniel paused and asked, "Was I ever in a banana costume?" She said, "No, you were once a very respectful avocado." He laughed. They ended up joking about it the entire night over pizza and terrible rom-coms. Liam, meanwhile, updated his profile picture to a banana emoji. Moral of the story: always check before you post, or you might accidentally turn your ex into produce. Blind date, wrong table, and why I almost fell for a vegan lumberjack. Nina didn't believe in blind dates, but her best friend Clara insisted. "He's perfect, funny, smart, and get this, he chops his own firewood." "Oh, great," Nina said. "A man who can make me laugh and build a cabin." She reluctantly agreed. The date was at a trendy organic cafe in Amsterdam called Leaf and Bean. Clara sent her the guy's photo. Curly hair, big smile, plaid shirt, very artisanal. Nina arrived a little early. She looked around and spotted him at a table by the window. Plaid shirt? Check. Curly hair? Check. Lumberjack vibes? Absolutely. She walked over, smiled, and said, "Hi, I'm Nina." He stood up, shook her hand, and replied, "Wow, you're even prettier than your profile picture." Flattered, Nina sat down. They started talking about movies, music, and how he once built a treehouse for squirrels. Nina thought, okay, maybe blind dates aren't so bad. He was witty, had great teeth, and said sustainability at least 6 times. She liked him. Then, 20 minutes in, he suddenly looked confused and said, "Wait, you're not Emily, are you?" Nina blinked. "No, I'm Nina." He laughed. "I think you're at the wrong table." Nina's eyes widened. "Wait, aren't you Alex, Clara's friend?" He grinned. "Nope, I'm Lars. I'm waiting for someone from Tinder, but this has been fun." They both burst out laughing. At that exact moment, a different curly-haired guy in plaid walked in, scanned the room, and waved awkwardly. "That," Nina said, "is probably the real Alex." She stood up. "Well, Lars the squirrel architect, it's been weirdly lovely." "Agreed," he smiled. "If Emily stands me up, want to get dessert later?" "Only if it's not vegan," she teased. She walked over to her actual date, who turned out to be fine, nice, a bit obsessed with mushrooms. But later that evening, Lars texted, yes, she'd given him her number. Emily had stood him up, and Nina, she met him for non-vegan dessert. 2 weeks later, they went hiking. He brought trail mix, she brought sarcasm. It worked. Moral of the story, wrong table, right guy, and always ask names before sitting down.